why I used intermittent fasting to reverse my type 2 diabetes. Um, Intermittent fasting is pretty interesting, and there's a lot of controversy behind it. And some people use it that probably shouldn't use it or don't need to. And it's kind of become like a bro thing, right? It's like, dude, I did intermittent fasting for 6 weeks, and it was amazing. I shredded, and just like any kind of weird diet type thing, once you fall off of it, all the results pretty much disappear. But first and foremost, I did use and still use intermittent fasting to help reverse my type 2 diabetes. And this is just an explanation of why and how I use it. Not saying that you should do it exactly the same way I did, but if you want to explore it, work with your doctors, it might be something that works for you also. What is intermittent fasting? It's pretty simple. There's an eating window. That's a time period when you get to eat. And fasting windows, that is a time period where you don't get to eat, right? That's pretty much it. So one of the things that you'll find, and there's a lot of different ways to eat, right? You might have some people with type 2 diabetes do better with 6 meals a day. Six are small meals, not six huge meals. Six small meals. Some people do better with three regular meals a day. You got to kind of, find your way through it. And if you have a constant glucose monitor like I do, which is stuck to my arm right now, I can check my blood sugar, and I know exactly what is happening with my body. If you don't have a constant glucose monitor, any of this stuff is going to be really difficult. So I'm a big fan of those. I will always be a big fan of constant glucose monitors. But how does intermittent fasting work? Well, simply it restricts calories, right? If you're used to eating, you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you start eating, you have breakfast, you have a mid-morning snack, you have lunch, you have an afternoon snack, you eat dinner, you keep eating until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and you go to sleep and then start over again. You can put in a lot of calories. If you restrict how much you can eat in a certain window, there's going to be times when you don't eat and you're going to immediately drop caloric intake just based on time, right? You can try to cram all that food into a certain time, but it's really difficult. So it can work in that respect. It makes total sense to me. Um, it depletes your sugar stores, right? Because you're not constantly eating, your body will burn up those sugar stores and then start burning fat because there's nothing left, right? There's no glucose left from your carbohydrates, so it'll start burning fat. Can lead to lower insulin levels. Worked for me. That is one of the things that it can do. Now you got to do it right though, right? And you got to be really consistent. Like this isn't something that you do for a week. This isn't something you do for 2 weeks. This is something that you have to figure out and stick with. The common methods for 16 and 8. So you eat for 8 hours, you fast for 16 hours. That's the one that I do. We'll get more into an explanation of that later, but that is a very common one. So, you get done eating dinner and you don't eat again until lunch the next day. Okay. Yeah. 5-2 method. So the 5-2 method is odd to me, but I get it. You eat regular for 5 days, and then you restrict your calories to about 500 to 600 to 700 a day for 2 days. So basically, you could go Monday through Friday, I'm going to eat regular. And then on the weekends or whatever days you want to pick, you would eat, broth and stuff like you cut your calories way back for 2 days. I never tried that one. The 24-hour fast, 1 or 2 days a week, you just don't eat. I did try that one. I'll tell you how that went here in a minute. But that is, you pick 1 or 2 days, like Friday to Saturday, and you eat dinner, and then you don't eat again until the next day at dinner, right? Alternate day fasting. I think this one would be hard to keep track of, but I get it. You eat regular one day, and then the next day you eat like 500 calories. 500 calories is not that much, by the way. It's really not. It's just some salads and some broth. But some people do that every other day, or you'll pick 4 days a week or whatever. There's a million different ways to do this. The 12-hour fast is probably the easiest one. That's just where you get done eating at 8 p.m. and then you don't eat again until 8 a.m., right? That's what we probably should be doing anyway. But, you know me. We don't, right? And then you have the 1 meal a day, which is really getting popular. A lot of people are doing that. They basically pick one time a day to eat all of their calories, and then they don't eat again until that time the next day. I don't know. I don't know how that one would work for me. I like food too much to just restrict it to one. And I think as a diabetic, these are not like, this is how diabetics should do it. This is just how intermittent fasting works. But I would think that if you were able to consume enough calories in one meal to sustain you for 24 hours every single day, I would think your blood sugar spike would be massive. I think it would be very hard on you. But why not even try intermittent fasting? Yeah, I did a ton of research when I first got type 2 diabetes. I read books, Mastering Diabetes, one of my favorites, Reversing Diabetes, all these different books and methods. And one of the things that came up a couple of times was intermittent fasting. And I had tried it, hated it, got rid of it. But I got to a point where I was 9 months into my journey, and I really wanted to reverse my diabetes in a year. I wanted to have no meds. I wanted my doctor to say, you don't need medicine anymore. When first diagnosis, I was on 4 metformin a day, 1 Jardiance. I knew I was going to have to work my way up to it, but I wanted, in August of 2024, after being diagnosed in July of 2023, I wanted my doctor to say, you don't need meds anymore. You got it. You did it. I was 9 months in, right? I had gone from, after 6 months, I got rid of 2 of the metformin. So I'm down to 2 metformin and 1 Jardiance. After 9 months, I was down to just 2 metformin. We had gotten rid of the Jardiance. And then I knew, and I was at A1C of 5.2. And I had 3 months to adjust even further to keep my A1C low enough, 5.2-ish, right? Where my doctor would say, you don't need meds anymore. I'm like, okay, what am I going to add in, right? Because every time I got rid of medicine, I added in something else. I worked out more. I ate better. I did whatever, right? But I knew I had 3 months to get to my goal of reversing the diabetes. And the one thing that I kept reading over and over again was intermittent fasting. And so that's what I was trying to do. Now, why can it work for diabetes? Well, here's how it works when you have diabetes and you're insulin resistant. You eat and your blood sugar rises. Okay, that's what happens. Your body processes it. You get glucose in your bloodstream, and your blood sugar rises, right? Your pancreas then releases insulin, and the insulin goes out and tries to take that blood sugar and put it into cells, right? When you don't eat, your blood sugar doesn't rise. It will rise. Your liver will still release sugar or whatever. So it's not like it's flatlined or anything, but it'll rise less. You have a better chance of it not rising when you're not eating, when you're just letting your body process what you've already done. So those windows when you're not eating, I call it giving my pancreas a break. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna make it any harder for you, right? By eating a whole bunch of stuff. You just do your thing and you try to process what I've already eaten, and I'll see you in a couple hours, right? And I also knew that when I was cheating and when I was really pushing my blood sugar, my first attempt was the 24-hour fast, right? When I first read about this, I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat for 24 hours. And that seemed like the easiest one, right? So I would eat dinner Friday, 6, 7 o'clock at night, whatever, Friday night, have a nice dinner with my wife. And then I wouldn't eat again until Saturday night, right? I'll just, what do I do on Saturdays? On Saturdays, I go play disc golf. I do stuff around the house. I do whatever. And then I'll go and I'll eat Saturday night. And then I'm back on it, right? So very, not hard to do. The rest of the week, 6 days a week, it didn't even matter. I'm an intermittent faster. So I tried it, and I would eat dinner. Now I tend to, on the weekends, Friday and Saturday we eat out. So it's a lot harder to have a good meal. And I can tell you, I did it for 2 weeks. Saturday night, I'd eat that meal and bam, would I skyrocket. After not eating for 24 hours, my body was like, what are we doing? And I would eat something that maybe had a little bit more carbs in there, whatever. And I would shoot through the roof. So, and I didn't feel great doing it. I did it 2 weeks in a row and I got rid of it. That was probably, I don't know, I was like 3, 4, or 5 months into being a diabetic. So at 9 months, I was like, okay, let me do some more research. Let me understand it even further. And let's take a look based on my constant glucose monitor, which I'm a big fan of, right? I have one all the time and has a graph. Let's take a look at where I'm losing. Let's take a look where I can get better, right? So I would eat breakfast and my blood sugar would go up and then it'd go down, right? And I was getting insulin sensitive, so it was only taking like an hour. 45 minutes, something like that. So I go up to whatever, 150 or 160, whatever it was, right? And then you go back down to, 108. Okay, great. Lunch, same thing. Goes up and it goes back down. Dinner goes up and then I snack and I have more snacks and I have a few more snacks and then it goes down a few hours later. So there was, when you looked at my graph, right, it was nice and flat overnight. Boop, goes up for breakfast. Okay, boop, goes up and down for lunch. And then at dinner, it would go up and then hang out up here and go down. Your A1C, right, is your average blood sugar over 3 months. And I knew that dinner spike, that being up there for 2 or 3 hours, that was pushing my A1C up. And you can just hit a button on my constant glucose monitor to see what your average glucose is. And I'm shooting for, like 109. Mine runs a little bit high. We're going to do an experiment on that too. But mine is like 109 when I'm really good. And it's like 120 when I'm really bad. Right. So I knew that was the point. So knowing exactly where it was, I was like, okay, if I quit eating at 7 p.m., I eat dinner and I stop eating and I don't eat again until 11 a.m. the next day, I'm going to flatten that curve. I'm going to go up, I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to be down for the rest of the night. Right. And man, did it work. It worked like crazy for me. Right. So now I eat breakfast at 11 a.m. I eat lunch at 2:30. I eat dinner at 6 or 7, right? I'm done eating by 7 o'clock. And then most days I stop eating. I'm not perfect at it. I never said I was, and I probably never will be. But my biggest concern was my morning workouts because I work out. I'm a morning workout person. And anything you read about intermittent fasting, they kind of talk about, make sure that you eat before you work out, make sure that, if I do 16 and 8, that means I can't do a morning workout unless I don't want to eat dinner with my wife. And my wife's a really good cook. That was not going to happen. So I decided to just kind of try it out. And so, my morning workouts Monday through Friday are usually I walk for like 4 miles in the morning or I go for a 3-mile run. I was like, let's just see how it goes. Right. Because before the intermittent fasting, I used to eat a banana in the morning because I was like, oh, I got to get my carbs up because I'm going to go work out or whatever. And then I would crash at times, right? I would look at my constant glucose monitor and the arrow was straight down. So with this way of doing it, I was like, okay, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm not going to eat anything. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to bring some glucose tabs just in case I crash or whatever, right? And didn't really make it. I was good. I went down a little bit just because I was burning some of that leftover glucose, but not significantly, right? I even more on Sundays. So Sundays is my run day. By the way, in the comments, I got an email. Someone's like, "Why do you always look like you're wearing workout gear?" That's because when I film these and record these, I'm getting ready to go for a long run. I'm going to go run 6 miles here in a minute, so that's why I'm wearing this. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, but I eat even more on Sundays. I would eat, some overnight oats and a banana. And I was really like stacking, like kind of carb loading. And then I go for a run. And after 4 miles, my arrow, which had been going up because I ate, would flatten and then crash. And it was a real bummer, right? Because then I would have to stop. And I was like, because if I kept running, it made it even worse. And I'm pounding glucose tabs and I'm eating sport beans. I'm just trying to keep it level. So, but I went out one time and I forgot. I got up Sunday. I forgot to eat because I've been doing the intermittent fasting, right? I was going for, I think it was like a 7 or 8 mile run. I was training for a half marathon. Anyway, so I get up and I get up to where I'm going running and I go, oh no, I forgot to eat. What am I going to do? I was like, well, I have a constant glucose monitor. I'll check my blood sugar every mile, right? And just see how it goes. And if I need to take anything, I got some tabs. I'll be fine. And to be honest with you, it was a game changer for me because my blood sugar did not rise and did not crash. I think I started out at like 108 and I finished up at like 99. Like it was for 8 miles. I'm like, what? So now I'm like, well, wait a second. And I didn't have to keep taking jelly beans or anything. So I can do that. I don't eat at all before my long runs up to 13 miles. I haven't run past that yet. So I don't know if I ever do a marathon again, if I'll have to fuel during that. But I have the fuel with me. But I think last weekend I ran 10 miles. I didn't have any fuel and I was fine. Blood sugar just stayed the same after not eating since 7 o'clock the night before. Weird, right? That's just what works for me. You got to figure out what works for you. Without a constant glucose monitor, it'd be really difficult though. So my average day, yeah, I get up I eat at 11 a.m., right? I eat lunch at 2:30. I eat dinner at 6, and then I try to stop eating by 6 o'clock. I really try to stop eating by 6 o'clock. I fail at this a lot, especially after dinner. I pick weeks to really dial in, and then sometimes I'll fall off. But this is an area that I need improvement. This is a place where I can be a better type 2 diabetic. But just doing this 90% of the time was the last step in reversing my diabetes. And one of the most important things that I did, that discovery of I can eat 3 meals a day during this window and give my pancreas and everything a rest to work it out during the night. And when I wake up in the morning, my blood sugar is a lot lower than it used to be. And that's what worked for me on intermittent fasting. Not saying that's what one will work for you, but if you get to the point where you're stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do next, get with your medical team, and that might be a place that could improve yours. Certainly worked for me. So I hope your A1C is down, and I have an awesome day.